Hello. In this presentation, I will begin with my first steps in exploring AR tools for teaching. I will explain why I choose Adobe Aero and Zapworks. Then, we will move to the bigger question: why AR is useful in primary and environmental education, especially, with two short classroom stories as examples. Then we will compare the tools, look at practical challenges, and finish with the main principle. The tool must always serve the learning. For real, this was one of my first attempts to explore augmented reality tools for teaching purposes. I was given a list of possible platforms, and instead of thinking in theory about which one is more advanced, I started with a very practical criterion. Which tool could I really use tomorrow in my classroom with my students, and especially at the topics we already are interested in, such as soil, plants, and the school garden? This made the task concrete and directly connected to my teaching practice. Through this list, I quickly rejected many of the options. Lens Studio or Spark AR Studio are designed for social media filters, far away from my educational needs. ArcIT and ArcCore are powerful developer platforms requiring, although technical knowledge, that is not realistic for my um, educational purposes and my abilities, or generally for primary school teachers' abilities. Finally, I selected Adobe Aero and Zapworks. So, today I will show how these two tools can turn our schoolyard into an interactive science lab, which is connecting digital experiences with real world environmental learning. These tools were chosen specifically for three key reasons. Firstly, the accessibility. Zapworks works on almost any device through a regular web browser, so schools do not need expensive equipment. Adobe Aero is simple for teachers to learn because it uses a drag and drop system without needing coding skills. This means both tools are practical even for teachers and students who are new to AR. The second reason is flexibility. Both tools let you combine ready made 3D models with real world data, such as temperature or humidity measurements. This allows the creation of activities that mix virtual objects with information from the student's actual environment. And the last, third reason is the relevance, because these tools are great for teaching about nature, as children can look at real places and see extra digital information on the top. They also work in schools that do not have a lot of equipment because there is no need for special lab or expensive devices. Before showing now how Aero and Zapworks work in the practice, let's pause for a moment. First, why AR is considered suitable for primary education in general, and then why it is especially powerful for environmental education. To answer this, I want to look briefly at what research shows us. In primary education, AR lets students move, observe, and mostly connect learning to their own environment, making abstract concepts to concrete, something that is very usual in environmental issues. It gives children the chance to learn with their whole body, not only by listening or reading. They interact with digital objects as if they were part of the real world, making the learning more memorable and playful. It can also show real data like temperature or soil moisture directly in the school garden. So, the children connect science with what they see every day in their common place, in their schools. Most importantly, AR can touch emotions. When students watch a plant try out in a simulation, they don't just understand a fact, they feel the impact. This is why AR is so powerful in primary education, because it mixes real action, detailed data, and real emotion. Now, especially in the environmental education, AR can make nature feel more alive. Students don't just read about plants, they can actually see them grow or interact through digital layers. This helps them connect what they learn in class with what they notice every day in their own schoolyard. It helps children see their everyday surroundings with new eyes, new lens. The schoolyard stops being just a familiar place and becomes a learning environment by itself, where they feel more curious and more motivated to explore it. These are the general reasons why AR matters. But theory becomes clearer when we see it in action. So let's look at two short classroom stories that show how these tools come alive in practice. Instead of staying with theory, we will look at concrete examples based on themes we are already explored and discussed. So it will be easier to imagine how teachers and students could actually use these tools in their own classrooms and school gardens. Let's step inside these stories. The first takes us underground, where worms and roots quietly shape our soil. The second show us what happens above ground when water is missing. In Adobe Aero, the teacher opens the app and takes a photo of the school garden for being the base. Then add soil layers, top, middle, bottom, each one with a different color so can be seen clearly, and place worm models inside which they are moving through the tunnels. Roots are growing slowly as if they are alive. Finally, a teacher could add small hotspots. When students touch them, they can hear short messages. For example, worms help the soil breathe, or worms are the actual architects of the underground kingdom. The garden becomes a living story. So they are motivated to explore it. On the activity day, students use shared iPads to scan the ground. Aero recognizes the surface and the overlays of the transparent soil scene. They move physically to explore, following audio prompts like um, could you find where the roots meet the little heroes, the worms? Around the garden, Zapworks with QR codes lead to quick web AR scenes like a time lapse of organic matter which is decomposing, or even real live data of humidity, only if some sensors are available. Of course, we are facing some challenges, but they are very simple solutions to face them. Sometimes, let's say, we don't have enough iPads for everyone, but children can share and work in small groups. Of course, this is supporting the cooperation and other skills in addition. After this, if we don't have special sensors to measure things like soil or the air, we can still use data we collected before. And if a teacher has never tried AR, they can begin with a ready made template and just learn how to move objects and add little buttons. It's easy, of course, to start from scratch, to start small. Let's move through the second example, the second scenario. In Zapworks, the teacher makes three versions of a plant: one green and healthy, one a bit thirsty, and one very dry and wilted. The soil also changes from dark and wet to cracked and light brown. Students can move sliders for the temperature and the humidity. When it gets hotter and drier, the plant starts to suffer. This way, children can see how climate change feels in the real life, not just read about it. QR codes are placed on real plants in the school garden. Students scan them with tablets or phones. They adjust the sliders to change weather condition, like to do it hotter, wetter, colder. Then groups talk together and they are thinking about what they can do to help the plant recovering. Ideas like shade nets or drip irrigation are coming directly from their own discussion. Although, again, there are some challenges to overcome. Sometimes the internet is weak outside. To fix this, we preload the AR scenes or use a mobile hotspot. If the models load too slowly, we make them simpler uh, and lighter. And finally, to keep students focused, we give them small triggering missions like find the specific point where the plant could still recover and then explain why. These examples show how these tools can enrich our real lessons, our practical skills. But how do they compare uh, side by side? Let's see which tool works better for different teaching purposes and situations. Each tool, of course, has different strengths, so it's important to choose the right one for the right moment and scope. We will think about the main variables like what devices we have, what visuals we need, what will be the use outdoor, indoor, what data are necessary, and then we will see which tool works better in each case. This is very helpful to match the tool to a specific lesson goal and the specific learning environment. So, about more detailed comparison. Aero only works on iPads or iPhones. in detail, while is fully available on iOS devices for both authoring and viewing. It's limited for Android. On the other hand, Zapworks opens in any browser, so it is easier to use in more schools. Aero gives us very realistic 3D models, which is great for showing sceneries like the soil with the roots and the worms. Zappaworks looks simpler, but it loads fast and works well outside. Aero works best indoors or in one fixed place. Zappaworks is easier to use outdoors in the school garden because it works with QR codes. In Aero, we can only add data we measured before, like last week's rain or humidity. But Works has sliders that let students change variables like temperature or water levels right away and see what happens straight. So, the conclusion is that Aero is best for fixed stories that do not having changes, like showing the soil layers. But Zappa Works is best for activities where conditions are changing, like when plants get dry from heat. Together, although their combination cover different needs in environmental lessons. This means that the teachers can use a simple way to decide. If the lesson needs creative and realistic visuals, Aero is a good choice. But if the lesson needs outdoor use, quick access, and flexible changes, Zapworks is better. But in every case, the actual question is the same. Does this tool really help me and my students learn? Whether we choose Aero or Zappaworks, the guiding question and the main principle, pedagogical principle, stay the same. In general, when teachers choose a digital tool, the most important thing is the goal of the lesson. The tool comes second. It is not about which app looks more impressive or even finally which is more easy or practical. What matters is how the benefits of the tool support the teaching method. The tool must serve learning, not the opposite. Overall, the experience of experiment with AR tools was very positive. For sure, I would adopt these tools immediately in my own classroom and practice, and I would recommend them to other teachers as well. The main principle I take with me and I am emphasizing is that the tool must always serve the learning objective. With this in mind, I think that Aero and Zapworks can be, of course, very, very powerful, practical, and also realistic choices for primary education. Uh, Even more generally, mixing traditional methods with modern technologies can enrich our teaching and can open for us new paths to interact with our students. What it matters is not perfection, but the courage to experiment and to try new things, to connect the old with new ways of learning. As teachers, we grow together with our students, and especially when we dare to innovate. This is the end. Thank you for watching. There are some references that following.